The internet is a place filled with pros and cons, especially cons nowadays. Whether you have people like Andrew Tate or Sneeko running around, talentless people getting fucking rewarded for their talentlessness, or better yet, just having a whole bunch of bullshit internet drama, or just bullshit around the internet in general. I mean, fuck, we live in a time period where we'll just give anyone 100,000 subs or just a few K subs just because they have fucking muscles. Point is, things today are not as good as things were back then, especially on the internet. Back then, you could tell whatever joke you wanted, you could do whatever the fuck you wanted, really, so long as it didn't really involve some extremist shit. We also had good shows like Regular Show and Adventure Time, along with a few other shows, and by Adventure Time, I mean like pre-shitty, like final years writing of Adventure Time. Like, I don't know what it is, but like some shows or comics or mangas or animes or whatever, like they will have fucking like great episodes, they'll have great seasons, and then like the final years come in, and it's just like, oh god, why? And yes, I wasted the first minute and 6 seconds of the video literally going on that fucking spiel. If you don't like it, then, well, click off the video. I don't know what else to tell you.
Have you ever met a fucking girl before?
Back to the whole pros and cons shit, the internet is basically a place of that. I mean, at the same time, we have like quick and easy communication with whoever the fuck we want, and on top of that, we have an endless supply of entertainment, so yay in that regard? But at the same time, we have bullshit like stan accounts on Twitter and Instagram, which are just a fucking filthy waste of time. You have like 99.9% of Twitter, which, I mean, that's already a fucking hellhole. You also have shit like political discourse, and I don't need to explain why, politics on the internet are fucking boring. I swear to God, I don't need to explain that. Watch a Brett Cooper video, and oh my lord, you will be bored to goddamn death. And then you have one of the worst things of all, fucking cancel culture. And I actually am just gonna probably cut the bullshit and just talk about cancel culture. No, I'm not saying that the internet is making us stupider or anything. If anything, I believe what Filthy Frank said. In his own words,
I believe there have always been stupid people, but the internet provides greater opportunity for stupidity to be expressed and paraded. In this day and age with the internet, ignorance is a choice, and they're still choosing ignorance.
Yeah, fuck it, thank you, Frank. Can people please learn that you're a parody of everything wrong with the internet? No? Okay.
I'm not upset with y'all because I know you're mentally ill.
Cancel culture is basically a term used for an internet subculture of people who basically prey on the downfall of others and try and ruin their careers over shit they said that, well, today is seen as problematic, while as back then, it wasn't seen as problematic, it was seen as a bit acceptable. And some of the shit that people get canceled for is usually shit that was acceptable back then, and shit that literally they just said before they had a following. It's honestly quite fucking stupid to cancel someone for something they said like fucking 6 years ago, because that's 6 years ago. Like, what the genuine fuck? Like, these people genuinely have nothing going for them in their fucking lives. They ain't got no jobs, they ain't got no money, they ain't got no car, they ain't got no bitches, they ain't got no dudes. I don't know if you swing that way. I know a lot of y'all swing that way because it's Twitter, but I mean, y'all got like no bitches or dudes. All y'all gonna do, literally all y'all do, is just fucking try and cancel people for shit they said like 6 or 7 or even 5 years ago. And it promotes such a black and white thinking process as well. Like, that's quite literally what it fucking promotes.
Did you really mean all the things that you said?
There's a reason why I title it this way. There's a reason why I titled it Black and White Beliefs, and that's because they see the world as like a child would, just black and white heroes and villains. That's all they see, and usually they think of themselves as the hero when in reality nobody's happy that you fucking saved them. You're not Superman, you're fucking Homelander. You're just a fat, weird, acne-filled version of fucking Homelander, but that's besides the point. That's besides me just making fun of like cancelers' appearances. The thing is with them is they don't understand that people change. They think of the world in like such a black and white way, when in reality there's a whole lot more gray in there. But no, they refuse to see that shit. I remember my friend, who's also in another friend group, he literally showed like a manga panel for proof, literally the full-blown panel, no edits or anything of the panel, just the full-blown panel, and this motherfucker in like the group chat he was in refused to accept that fucking fact, even though it was right dead ass into his fucking face. Like, it doesn't really, like, it just seems like they're only ignoring the facts just so they could live in their fucking fantasy world. And people do change over time. Like, me from 5 years ago is definitely different from me today. And me from 10 years ago is definitely fucking different from me today. Again, that's because people change, but cancel culture does not want to accept that. They just want to live in the world of black and white and heroes and villains. Well, that and double standards.
Take him to Detroit.
It just pisses me off that people will do this, and there's not much to say here, but I wanted to talk about it because, again, it pisses me off. Like, you will have people who will cancel fictional fucking characters, characters that don't address allegations because they're fucking fictional, and then you'll have people who will cancel people for just saying some shit that was, acceptable, almost a decade ago. Like, you'll have them try and ruin their careers over that shit, but they won't really do anything, and they'll turn a blind eye to people like Cardi B, who literally drugs people, for fuck's sakes. Like, that shit is just that's just extreme double standards. That's literally double standards to its core. Like, you're telling me you'll cancel a fictional character or a celebrity over shit they said a decade ago, or shit that was acceptable back then, but you won't cancel people who actually deserve to get canceled for the scumbag shit they've done? Seems like some bullshit to me. Like, cancel culture is quite literally just some bullshit mob mentality of people who genuinely don't have anything going for them in their lives. Despite all that I fucking said, and despite me clearly hating a lot of motherfuckers who engage in cancel culture, because, you're ruining someone's career over past shit that they did, I am willing to understand why it's a thing. Like, obviously, you have people that have done actual genuine horrible things, but I already said earlier, they'll fucking ignore that, and then they'll just go on to cancel somebody over some past jokes. Like, it's quite honestly fucking stupid, and I'm gonna pull up some examples of cancel culture, and I'm gonna talk about if, the person deserves to get canceled or not. Basically, hey, you have this person, I don't think they deserve it, and then you have, this person's actually done some horrible shit, they fucking deserve it. Two examples I want to use are Robert Downey Jr. and Harley Sawyer. Now, I'm going to start with Harley Sawyer because he's probably the most obscure out of all of these, but if you've watched the Flash TV show, you'll know who he is. Now, Ralph Dibny was basically the character that he played, and Ralph started out as this scumbag, sleazy detective until later on where he'd actually learn to actually be a team player for once. He was even getting to the part where he would be meeting Sue, and, you'd already have Identity Crisis adapted into live action for the first time. To an extent, it would have been Identity Crisis. But that was later cut short, mainly because, one, the thing that shall not be talked about that begins with a C and ends with a 19, and B, because of some edgy jokes that he made 8 years ago. Now, I'm not gonna pull up these fucking jokes because they are extremely fucking edgy, even for 2014 standards, but it's been 8 years ago, and I think he's already changed enough in that time period. Plus, a whole bunch of cast members even came out and said that, Harley Sawyer, he's a pretty cool dude to be around, and he's even a pretty chill dude to be around, it's just that he has edgy humor. Are the jokes somewhat insensitive and extremely edgy? Fuck yeah, they absolutely are. They're extremely edgy, even for 2014 standards. But do I think he deserves to get canceled and his career ruined because of it? Fuck no. It's been fucking 8 years. It's almost been a decade since he said this. Plus, if his character is allowed to change from this douchebag to an actual decent human being, then why the fuck can't he? Now, the Robert Downey Jr. one, you already know what was already going on. If you don't know, Tropic Thunder was a movie, and I actually still kind of like the movie to this day. But basically, Robert Downey Jr., a white guy, ended up playing a white guy that was playing a black guy. It's a bit fucking weird, and movies are confusing sometimes, but you get what I mean. Basically, he put on blackface for this role, and a lot of people saw that, and, since Gen Z is fucking horrible, they're like a bunch of horrible flying roaches, or just a horrible bunch of flying fucking rats, they just assumed that Robert Downey Jr. was a racist, even though he's clearly not, and if you actually watch the movie, I know Gen Z, so hard to actually fucking think for once, guess what? It was literally all fucking satire. Like, it was quite literally satire on why blackface is wrong and it shouldn't even be a thing. Like, it literally makes fun of it in the fucking movie. The whole point of that character in Tropic Thunder was quite literally a white guy taking the role of a black guy from a black actor. And it's even pointed out by somebody, guess what, a black actor in the fucking movie. A black actor in the movie literally points it out. There's a reason why, people still hire Leonardo DiCaprio for movies and shit. There's a reason why people still work with him even after Django Unchained, where his character was a racist, and that's because most of the time, and I mean 99.9% of the time, just because an actor plays a piece of shit character does not mean the actor is a piece of shit. And plus, trying to cancel Robert Downey Jr. for this shit is literally just saying fuck you to all of the troubled shit in his past that he had to deal with and how much time it took for him to change. Like, this man is quite literally an example of fuck you cancel culture, people can change. I mean, well, same with Louis C.K., but let's not talk about Louis C.K. Now, an example of when cancel culture is actually needed is Victor Salva, and if you don't know who that is, oh boy, this shit is actually where shit hits the fan and it gets pretty dark. Victor Salva, who's known for making the Jeepers Creepers movies, is actually a convicted child predator. I did not say accused, you heard that right, it is convicted. He literally is a convicted child predator. The police even found a whole bunch of cheese pizza, which I'm calling it that because I'm not calling it the other name. They found a whole bunch of it on his laptop, and he even assaulted a 12-year-old boy who starred in one of his movies. He was literally sentenced to 3 years, but only lasted about 15 months in prison before getting let out, which to me is fucking bullshit. 15 months for fucking up that kid's life. You're sentenced to 3 years, which, I mean, he should be getting more time for that, but he only ended up serving 15 months, which, again, is bullshit, and it's a reason why cancel culture should actually be used in, very specific circumstances, at least in my opinion. Because of shit like this, people who do shit like this, they do not deserve careers, and I'd much rather prefer these horrible people, these immoral people, get canceled, and not people who made raunchy jokes a few years ago. And then you have the Ezra Miller thing, and oh fucking boy, I don't really need to explain, but, they were accused of a lot of horrible shit that they did. They did a lot of horrible shit that they were accused of, and, some fangirls are probably going to be like, oh, well, again, they were accused and blah, 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 but Ezra Miller ended up going to court for their actions, so I don't know, it kind of goes into, the realm of truth once court gets involved. Plus, there are a lot of people out there in this world that are genuinely fucking horrible people that get away with a lot of their horrible actions out there on a daily. And I think that cancel culture should have been a thing to where you actually cancel someone for their horrible shit and not just because they made a raunchy joke a few years ago and it's now seen as problematic. Cancel culture is also fucking useless.
I've got to say, in all honesty, it's the biggest piece of dog shit that I have ever heard.
There's a reason why I say cancel culture is useless, and it's because of the fact that cancel culture, it rarely works. And when it does, it doesn't last long. It'll last for a week at most, a week tops, and then it'll be easily forgotten about. Cancel culture quite literally ruins those who don't need to be ruined, rather than hold those accountable who deserve to be held accountable. Ezra Miller and Victor Salva doing all that horrible shit should not be compared to Harley Sawyer or Robert Downey Jr. or James Gunn making a few joke tweets or even just doing something in a movie that they shouldn't even be held accountable for. If there's one thing that you could easily take away from this video, it's to never go full retard. And cancel culture is fucking retarded.